This morning, I want to explore the importance of light. The importance of light, because there are so many traditions that are overlapping right now that are all about celebrating light and the importance of light. Hanukkah, which just had its last night on Friday night, it's also called the Festival of Lights. The winter solstice, that begins in 4 days, and we celebrate the returning of more and more light, right? The days are going to start getting longer. And then Christmas is in 8 days. And for me, the deepest meaning of Christmas is that we birth the growing light of the Christ consciousness in our own self, right? I think it was Meister Eckhart, that 12th century mystic, that said, what good is it if Jesus was born 1,400 years ago? This was back in, when was it? The 12th century, 13th century. If I'm not birthing the Christ within me, yeah. So, and Saint Teresa of Avila, who I love, she said, "Christ has no body now on earth but yours. No hands but yours. No feet but yours. No hugs but yours." Yes. So before I go any further, I have a funny story for you to lighten your hearts. So there were these 3 men, and they died on Christmas Eve, and they were standing at the pearly gates, and they met St. Peter. And St. Peter said, "Now, because we need to honor the holiness of the season, you'll need to share with me something that symbolizes Christmas and the holiness of the season." And so the first man, he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out a lighter and he lights it and he says, "A candle." And St. Peter says, "All right, you can pass through." The next man, he's reaching into his pockets and he pulls out his keys and he starts shaking the keys and they sound like bells. And he goes, "Bells." And St. Peter goes, "All right, you can pass through." And so the third man, he's looking desperately in every pocket and he finally pulls out a pair of women's glasses. And St. Peter raises his eyebrow and he says, "And just what is that supposed to symbolize?" And he goes, "They're carols." And carols, he was pretty witty. Carols are most certainly part of the holy season, and it was such a joy to sing carols with you all on Thursday. Really special. We had a great time. So light is so important in our lives, and lightheartedness is so important in our lives. We have to laugh as well as cry, right? We did a lot of that last Sunday. It was really healing. We had a lot of laughter and a lot of tears. But the light of consciousness that we shine within when we're open, right? Like we just opened, we just dropped in to our center. And when we're open, that light is there. It shines brighter. When we're in touch with love, when we open to loving kindness and generosity and our innate goodness and our innate godness, right? Our innate divinity. One of my favorite Hafiz poems, it goes, "One day the sun admitted, 'I'm just a shadow. I wish I could show you the infinite incandescence that has cast my brilliant image. I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being.'" The astonishing light of your own being, your own being. Yes. So we're entering in the winter solstice in 4 days, and that starts at sunset on the 21st, and it celebrates a new cycle of light increasing, light growing. And then Christmas in 8 days, which celebrates the birth of an enlightened master, Master Jesus. And I don't believe, this is my personal opinion, but I don't believe that Jesus came so much to be worshiped as he came to be a teacher, a great example of what's possible for us. Because remember, he said, you are the light of the world. I mean, he did say, I am the light of the world also. But he also said, you are the light of the world, right? And so, he offered some great instructions. I love the teachings from Jesus. I'm not crazy about all the dogma, that maybe has built up over these 2,000 years, but I love his teachings and the instructions on how we live and how we grow the light of our own being. And as far as that light that we are shining, he said, after he said, you are the light of the world, he said, no one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but they put it on a lampstand. And it gives light to all in the house, gives light to all. And in the same way, let your light shine to glorify Father, Mother, God. Yes. My spiritual teacher, Alma, the hugging saint, she said something so similar. I love this quote. She said, don't be discouraged by your inability to dispel the darkness in the world. Just light your candle and step forward. Isn't that perfect? Just light your candle, just your one candle, and step forward. And so one of the ways us dear humans, we like to celebrate this season is we like to light candles. I light candles every night. But we also love to put lights up. And I must say that this town of Ashland goes all out. And I love living downtown because I've been walking down there at night and it's just so beautiful. And if there's anything on my mind or heart that's kind of heavy, those lights just remind me, of joy and of light and of the light within me. And I feel like I live in an enchanted realm. Does anybody else feel that about here living in Ashland? It's enchanted. I talk about certain places on the planet being heaven realms like Maui, but I think this is one. This Ashland realm is a heaven realm. I have always been inspired by the Christian mystics, and I particularly love Hildegard von Bingen, or Saint Hildegard of Bingen. She was born in 1098, and she was incredibly bold for that time. She was a healer, she was an herbalist, and she spoke from the god, you could say the goddess of her being. You could say that she channeled supreme consciousness. And I want to share with you a passage from her, in case you haven't heard of her, even if you have, because this is so powerful and it references many kinds of light. So she's writing from the God of her being. I, the highest and fiery power, have kindled every living spark, and I have breathed out nothing that can die. I flame above the beauty of the fields. I shine in the waters. In the sun, the moon, and the stars, I burn. All living things take their radiance from me. And I am the life which remains the same through eternity, having neither beginning nor end. Isn't that incredible? Oh, I have chills. Whoa. Wow. She's in the field. There's so many references to light in those words, kindling every living spark, the shine in the waters. I love that diamond light. I always talk about that diamond light on the water when the sun and the wind and the water do their dance. The burning in the sun and the moon and the stars. And that all living things receive their radiance from this source, this life that has no end. So our radiance, this life force that lives us and breathes us and beats our hearts, this is the light of consciousness we want to receive more of, right? And it's not so much that we need to grow it, it's simply that we need to get everything out of the way that blocks it, because we are that. I am that, right? So there's a fascinating history of the efforts to actually know the birth date of Jesus. I don't know if you've watched the History Channel much, but they love to talk about this subject. And there's actually no writing of his actual birth date It's not in the Gospels, and it's not written in any historical accounts. But it's been suggested that the date of December 25th was chosen because it's close to the winter solstice. And that holiday is much more ancient. I mean, that's been celebrated for, way back. It goes way back. And it's interesting because they chose the date for Jesus' birthday about 300 years or so after he lived. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I know. But St. Augustine, who is another wonderful Christian mystic, he wrote in a 4th century sermon why the winter solstice was likely chosen, and it's a fitting day for the birthday of Jesus. So let me read you what he wrote. Hence it is that he was born on the day which is the shortest in our earthly reckoning, and from which subsequent days begin to increase in light. He therefore, who bent low and lifted us up, chose the shortest day, yet the one whence light begins to increase. I think that's interesting that he writes, he therefore chose the shortest day. I don't think that's actually how it went, because it was chosen about 300 years later. So who knows for sure? Okay, that's, I think, where I would land on that subject. But what I would say matters, what matters most, is that we have this enlightened master who gave his life to show us what's possible for each one of us. And as Ervin Laszlo would say, that energy exists in the Akashic field. It's always available for us to embody and fully merge with. So I think what matters is the spiritual teachings he gave us and the spiritual direction and how we grow the holy light, the wholeness in ourselves, and awaken to that. As Hafiz says, let us discover the astonishing light of our own being, right? One thing I want to clarify is that I use the term inner light and consciousness synonymously. I feel that consciousness has this vibrating light to it. But let me read you what Ervin Laszlo wrote. He is a scientist and philosopher. He wrote, "The consciousness that's present in you is not a finite, limited consciousness. It's an infinite cosmic consciousness, a reflection, a holographic resonance of the consciousness that forms and informs the universe. It's present in the depth of your mind and in your heart." Does that sound true? So, Jesse, there you go. I had a life-changing awakening, spiritual awakening back in 1991 that really changed my life. I was living at Brighton Bush Hot Springs. Anybody been to Brighton Bush? Oh my goodness. I lived there as an artist in residence for a number of years, and my job was leading meditation and leading chanting and giving concerts every week to the retreat groups. One night I was sitting in the sanctuary and I just went so deep into meditation that I just completely went beyond all body consciousness, and I went into just this vastness of being, just utter stillness. And it had the quality of just immense bliss and immense love and silence like I had never known. And it was so timeless, I had no idea how long it lasted. My partner was meditating with me, and 8 hours later, I kind of came back to more normal consciousness. And what was so interesting to me is in that experience, I felt no body identity and no thought, and so there felt like there was no world when there's no thought. And I just felt myself as infinity that ever expands, ever expands, ever expands. And it has the quality of vibrating light. So when I opened my eyes and then days after, I really felt like everywhere I looked, I could see vibrating light. Every time I meditate, I'd really see you're nodding. You know what I'm talking about. Yes, you can see the vibrating light. You can see it around people and you can feel it in yourself. And it was interesting, for about a year after that experience, I just basically lived in silence. I just wanted to be in a lot of silence. I mean, I led spiritual practices and I did still sing. But yeah, it was a powerful time of integrating that experience. I also, when my mom passed, that that first couple weeks, I could feel her and sense her in her light body. You know, like Irvin Laszlo says that when we leave the body, oh, and it's a Buddhist teaching as well, that we will create our mind, our mental body, or our astral body will create kind of a similar body to our physical body, but it's completely healthy and it's in its prime, right? If there was dementia, there is no more dementia. If there was any problems being in a wheelchair, your body's in perfect health. So I really could feel mom in her light body. And I have to say, it's feeling more than seeing, but it's vibrating light that I feel and I was seeing. So I want to share another quote from Irvin Laszlo. His work has helped me so much in mom's passing to understand more about the quantum field and also the Akashic field. It's fascinating. But he writes, the light that shines forth in you is cosmic and infinite. Treasure it, foster it, evolve it. It's your identity as a cosmic being. And fostering and evolving this light is the meaning of your existence. It's the task you are here to fulfill. And I have never known that as much as I know that now. I had to laugh. I Googled stories of growing light, and I got all these articles on grow lights. Oh, so funny. I didn't even know that was a thing, grow lights, right? So, but it made me think, what are the grow lights for our soul, right? I thought, okay, that's a good analogy. What are the grow lights for our soul? Well, they're spiritual practices, right? They are our spiritual teachings. They are our highest values. Those are the grow lights for our soul. So I would like to take a moment and I would like you to tell me, you know, I'm an interfaith minister, so I love the teachings of Jesus and I love the teachings of Buddha and I love the Tao Te Ching and I love the Sufi teachings and I love the Jewish teachings. But tell me, what stands out in the teachings from Jesus? What really stands out to you that's made a difference in your life? I'd just like to hear in one line, a few words. Love, unconditional love. Yes. And see, to me, that is primary. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes. Oh, you're giving me chills. Oh my goodness. The Holy Spirit is here. Yes. Greater. You shall do these things and greater. Yes. That's so beautiful. Thank you for that. Yes. Anybody else? Yes, Molly. Love God. Love God. And what is it to love God? Everything. Life itself. Life and everything. Love life. Yes. What else? I know there's more. I know you're thinking. Yes. Oh, I am full of chills this morning. Thank you, Francis. Do you want to say that again? Peace I leave with you. I give unto you. Not as the world give I unto you. Yes. Beautiful. That is it. Anybody else? Yes. Yes. Forgiveness. Yes. Yes, not forgiving for just myself, but that I might be able to forgive. Yes, one of the greatest teachings on forgiveness, I would say. Yes. Yes, Patty. Acceptance. Yes, absolutely. Acceptance. Oneness. That's right. What we do to others, we do to ourselves. That's right. Did you have something? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yes, beautiful. And for those of you on Zoom, loving unconditionally with no judgment, walking a path and being who we fully are. Heather. Grace, yes, divine grace, amazing grace in the ongoing journey. Patty? Humor, yes. I know. I simply have to have it every day. I'm not a comedian, but I try. And on that note, anybody else? Compassion, thank you. Yes, very important teaching, compassion. Oh, it's so beautiful to hear all of you share. Yes. The the wide radiance of his field and love. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Heather. Yes, they know not what they do. Right. And in unity, we tend to use the word error in versus sin, right? Yeah. Well, thank you so much. You know, you named so much of his important teachings: love, forgiveness, serving others. That was another one. Living with a peaceful heart, being generous, judging less. I'm really glad you said that because I want to talk more about that. Judging less, judge not, lest ye be judged, right? And caring more about everybody, your neighbor, and even your enemy, right? Forgiving your enemy and loving your enemy. That's when you got to really stretch. And also, you know, loving those in our society that get the least love and the least care and attention. He was really big on that. He was such a social justice advocate. He really was. So years ago, I used to tour the country and I used to sing at all these Unity churches all around the country. And there was a story I heard at Unity in Houston that I will never forget. And I want to share this story. It's funny. It's a funny story in prose, but it is such a great teaching on the importance of non-judgment and and forgiveness and acceptance and allowing. So the story is a poem, and it's called The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox. A woman was waiting in an airport one night with several long hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shop, bought a bag of cookies, and found a place to drop. She was so engrossed in her book, but happened to see that the man sitting beside her, as bold as he could be, grabbed a cookie or two from the bag in between, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. So she munched the cookies and watched the clock as the gutsy cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking if I wasn't so nice, I would blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When only one was left, she wondered what he would do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh, brother, this guy has some nerve and he's also rude. Why, he didn't even show any gratitude. She had never known when she'd been so galled and sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed to the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank in her seat, and then she sought her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies before her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned in despair. The others were his, and he tried to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. It's such a powerful teaching. We've all had those moments, where we are so sure of our judgments of someone. Have you been there? I've been there. I've been there recently. And then realize actually that we were off base, that our judgments really weren't fair, right? Jesus did offer so many teachings on suspending judgment, right? Judge not, and you will not be judged. And if you've not sinned, then you can cast the first stone, right? That gives everyone pause. Because we all make mistakes, right? We're all human. So we want to try and suspend judgment a little longer, a little more, and be understanding and more forgiving, right? And more humble, right? And that we're all imperfect. We can just admit it. It's such a relief. And that's okay. It's really okay as long as we have a desire to grow and to do better, right? And we're making that effort to be more conscious. I really feel like we can love ourselves. I'm big on self-love and self-care, but also be humble, be teachable, be a student, right? Because we are all students of life. I'm a student of life. We're all students. Thich Nhat Hanh used to teach a mantra that I remember about when your mind is spinning and it's telling a story of somebody's shortcomings, to say the mantra, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" This woman, this cookie thief, she needed that mantra. She was feeling all that judgment and resentment towards that guy whose cookies she was snarfing down, right? If only she'd asked herself, "Are you sure?" you know, Are those your cookies? Maybe they're his. Maybe it's not what you think. I think it's really important to ask ourselves. It reminds me of that song, "Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way." Remember that song? So we can love ourselves well and be humble. We're all here in Earth School. That's what my mom would always call it, that we're students and we're learning to embody the greater divine nature, right? But we have it like a seed within us. Alma used to tell a story about, humility and say that, we're like these little acorns that are saying, "I'm an oak tree, I'm an oak tree, I'm an oak tree." And, we have the great grand oak tree capacity in us like a seed. But maybe we're a little closer to the acorn or the seedling stage, and we need the right conditions to grow. And so the right conditions to grow are our spiritual practices, our spiritual life. And it's up to us. It's our responsibility to create the conditions for our growth, right? Cultivate those conditions. So in closing, on this third Sunday of Advent that's about joy, I think we have a lot to rejoice about. The words to my song, "We are the hope of glory. We are the Prince of Peace. We are the Christ that's here now. We are the Mother of Mercy. We are the light in the darkness. We are the wings of a prayer. We have the hands to reach out. We are the ones to be there. We are the embodiments of love now. We are the ones." I am so grateful for you all. I'm so grateful for this space and this place, and that we come together for this purpose of growing and awakening. So may we aspire to be all we can be, not in the army, but to be all we can be in the army of the divine. And let us embody fully the astonishing light of our own being. Happy solstice and Merry Christmas. Om Shanti.